Imagine an iPad with a screen only you could see. Well, with this iPad modification and a pair of special glasses, you can have just that. I picked up this stock standard iPad Mini 2, which will modify to create the privacy screen. This should work on any iPad that doesn't have the front glass glued to the LCD screen. This includes the cheapest model of iPad currently sold at Apple in 2023. I chose the Mini 2 specifically as I wanted the small version of the iPad. Versions newer than the Mini 3 have their glass glued to the LCD, making this mod even more difficult, although still technically possible. I got this iPad cheap as its touchscreen is a bit dodgy and the battery's worn out, so I'll be replacing those while I'm at it. To begin, I'll power down our iPad and heat up the front glass on a heat plate for several minutes. After which, I can begin prying up the glass. I'm always saying not to use metal tools while prying up glass, and here I am doing just that. It cracked almost instantly, largely due to the fact that this glass is clearly a replacement, and a weak one at that. But it's no loss as this screen is faulty anyway, so I don't need to be careful with it. Or at least, that's what I thought at the time. Lifting up the glass, we get our first look inside the iPad Mini, complete with dust over the screen and 2 layers of adhesive, one being the original that the previous repairer was too lazy to remove. I'll now need to lift up the screen to be able to access the touchscreen connector. One of the 4 LCD screws is very badly rounded off, so it'll need to be replaced later on. Under the screen is a large metal plate that will also need to come out. While I'll be doing this modification with the screen still attached, I want to remove the touchscreen so it doesn't get in the way. There is still a bracket in the way that when removed will provide us with access to the flex cables for the battery, LCD and digitizer. With the touchscreen off, we're ready to go. Or so I thought. As it turns out, without the touchscreen, the iPad will only show a blank display after booting past the Apple logo. So it seems the touch layer will have to remain attached and we'll just have to work around it. I'll be doing this whole procedure with the iPad powered on. This is because an LCD will deform the image if pressure is being applied to it, alerting me if I'm working too hard. This modification works by removing the polarizing filter, which helps filter the light. Without it, you can't see what's on screen, and we'll be using this to our advantage. I'll begin by picking away at the filter, which is glued to the top layer of the iPad screen. This modification has been done before on computer monitors, but I couldn't find any evidence that someone's done this to an iPad, which I think would be a more practical device to do this to, because who's using their computer monitor in public? This is a very slow-going process, as you need to be very gentle. The glass under this film is less than 1 millimeter thick, one crack, and it's all over. As it turns out, there are multiple layers of this polarizing film, and I was only removing the very top one. Even so, we're getting the result we want, a blank, white-looking screen. The problem is, other layers of the film are easily damaged. Once I had removed my top layer of film, I noticed the damage below. What I initially thought was the remainder of the layer we just removed, I found that after cleaning, it was actually damaged to the layer below. I began peeling this thin plastic film off in small chunks, only again to realize there was yet another layer above the glass, and it was so fragile my fingernail had chipped it in several places. Wanting to get the screen looking as good as possible, I went about removing both layers. The adhesive on the last layer was truly next level. I understand this isn't something that was ever supposed to be separated, but even my adhesive remover had little effect. The worst part is you can't get large sections of it out, only chip away at it little by little. When I tried this process on an old cracked iPad Mini 3 screen, I was able to remove all polarized layers at once. Its film started much closer in from the edge, so I'm not sure if it's just luck or different models of screens are just easier than others, but this way is the worst case scenario. There are tools that are used to refurbish screens that would aid this process, but not having access to those tools, I just kept scraping away. Back at the glass layer, all we need to do now is remove the residual adhesive. It was important not to let any adhesive remover run to the edges of the screen, as it could damage the backlight, causing uneven light or even kill the screen entirely. After scraping it free, I could wipe it down using a cloth, repeating this several times. After about 5 hours, we had the screen layers removed. Testing the iPad by holding the old film in front of it, we can see it's working. With our modified screen a success, we'll proceed by replacing the worn out battery and broken touchscreen before reassembling the device. I'll get the screen and digitizer removed before we bring the iPad back to the heat plate for another round. This time heating the back in an effort to hopefully soften the adhesive holding the battery in place. But heat alone is not nearly enough to get this stubborn battery out, so I'll add some alcohol before beginning to pry it out. If you thought removing a consumable component like a battery would be a straightforward, easy task, you'd be wrong. The adhesive used is too strong, especially considering there's a large metal plate to hold the battery down anyway. Here's an idea: glue the battery to the metal plate so you just unscrew the battery and replace the plate as part of the whole battery replacement. After cleaning off the old adhesive strips, it's time for the new battery to go in. This 6471 mAh battery is a single cell unit, unlike the 2-cell battery we removed, but it will restore this iPad's poor battery life to full capacity. At this stage, it's a good idea to remove the old adhesive in preparation for the new glass. This replacement digitizer was under $20 and will fix the touch issues I mentioned earlier. It comes complete with the home button and a camera bracket. This means it's a straight plug-in replacement. Finally, something nice and easy to do on this iPad. I'll reattach the LCD display, battery, and its appropriate bracket. With the screen modified, battery installed, and the new digitizer plugged in, this iPad is almost ready to go. All we need to do now is finish reassembling it. I'll position the pesky metal bracket before fastening it in with 7 screws. Proceeding, we can fold back the display panel and secure it with 4 screws, one of which is a replacement of a different color, before testing out the display. And it's still working. However, testing it with the film, something's wrong. All the colors are washed out. But it's not the LCD's fault, it's the replacement digitizer. Both the old screen and another black one I had laying around work fine with the modified screen, but the new one doesn't, and I don't know why. But I did buy another iPad mini to use for parts if I damaged the LCD on the white one. Purchased as dead, I found not only was it charged up, but fully unlocked. Despite this, I wanted to try its digitizer, so it was time to open up another iPad. It appears to have its original Apple glass, so let's see if that works with our modified iPad. And you wouldn't believe it, it still doesn't work. There has to be some kind of filter or coating that's conflicting with the LCD. I never thought the touchscreen was going to be the biggest hurdle with making this privacy screen. I even thought maybe it's the oleophobic coating causing the issues. I read up online that alcohol should remove it. I tried that and even acetone, but still, the colors are messed up. My only option for now is to reinstall the screen I removed. It's cracked and the touch doesn't always work properly, but I can still demonstrate the modification, and until I find a screen that works, it'll have to stay this way. Of course, holding up the polarizing film isn't ideal, so to be able to see the display properly, I'll instead purchase some polarized sunglasses. These will make up for the film we removed, meaning while wearing the glasses, we'll be able to see the screen. Polarizing film is directional, so sunglasses might not work, meaning you'd have to resort to making your own. Putting them on, we're done. So this is it, the iPad with a screen only visible to those with special glasses. This has to be the coolest modification I've done to a device so far. Of course, it's not foolproof, as anyone with polarized glasses can see the display, but it definitely has its use cases. If you're on a train or aeroplane, the chances of that are pretty low. but maybe don't count on your privacy screen at the beach. It has pretty poor viewing angles that remind me of those really bad aftermarket iPhone 4 screens from back in the day. Any rotation causes the display to wash out or invert colours. I enabled a shortcut for inverting the colours, but that doesn't solve the washed out screen. If you wanted to use the iPad in landscape, you'd need to find different glasses where the polarized film was the other way around, or again, make a second pair for landscape viewing. It should also be noted that even without the glasses at sharp angles, you can actually faintly make out what's on screen. This could be possibly mitigated with the use of a privacy screen protector that blocks side viewing angles. However, this may interfere with the modified screen. I haven't tested. And on that note, this has been a Hugh Jeffries video. If you like what you saw, consider subscribing and check out the custom and modified tech playlist for more videos just like this one. And if you're looking for any used devices, be sure to check out my online store, link for which is down in the description. That's all for this video, and I'll catch you guys next time.